I am Cornholio.
Are you threatening me?
Are you threatening me?
Oh my god, dude.
Bunghole, bunghole, bunghole.
My dog
That
smells
was the
worse
last
than what I gave
episode
him to.
before his spoiler room was sued off the air.
Yeah, well, no, we're good. We don't have the music videos playing for commentary, which was usually my favorite part. But
A couple of dang spider monkeys whacking in the tool shed.
who's whacking him up tool shed?
Up tool shed.
Speaking of whacking in tool sheds, hello everyone. Welcome to another live stream of the spoiler room. Yes, thank you for venturing down the stairs, pulling up a chair, and sitting with us to talk movie spoilers. And we are wrapping up Space Sucks Month, folks. It's the end of Space Sucks Month, and we wrap up a film that I, all honesty, have never seen. So this will be an interesting evening, and I've gathered a wonderful crew with me tonight to discuss this film from 1980. We're talking about Without Warning, aka I think it's also known as Alien Shock, from 1980. And tonight with me, I have none other than the BFD himself. He's back in the spoiler room with us, Mr. Glenn Bittner. Bittner. How you doing, Glenn?
Super. I got
Super.
my coffee. It's a bit Irish, and I'm happy.
You got a bit of Irish coffee going on. That's all you need, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. And also in the spoiler room, he's back with us once again. Yes, Vampire Ravioli. It is the lovely Andrew Shearer. Hello, sir. How are you?
What's happening, captains?
Not a whole lot. We're going to go hunting tonight. We're going hunting for aliens, along with Jack Palance and a slew of other familiar faces. And Mr. Shearer, if you wouldn't mind giving the synopsis.
Oh, sure. Well, instead of giving you the synopsis of the movie, let's take you to the pitch room. Why don't we go to the pitch room?
Let's go to the pitch room.
Where Without Warning was pitched. Okay, so here's where 1980, and you got the guys pitching. You got three guys in the room trying to get 3 different projects done. So you got the one guy trying to get Friday the 13th made. You got the other guy trying to get Predator made. And you got this other guy trying to get Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs made. And so they give all the money to the Friday the 13th guy. Of course, Slam Dunk sounds good. Predator sounded a little too expensive. The alien that hunts humans for sport or whatever. And then Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, forget it. That's nobody's wants. Kids don't go to the movies. And so, they greenlight Friday the 13th. But the guy, there's another guy in the corner that heard all of them. And he goes, let's see. Teenagers in the woods, alien hunting them, flying raviolis. That's Without Warning.
Flying raviolis. Yeah, but who are we going to get started? It's okay. I got some friends. They owe me favors. They'll be in this movie.
That's right.
Well, that's Larry Storch. Oh, you already missed him. He's done.
Yeah.
Larry Storch was so great, dude, with those Cub Scouts or Boy Scout, whatever they were.
The Boy Scouts, yes. So yeah, it's your alien hunts people. 1980s. So we're talking before the Predator film. But you're right, there are a few similarities to this film. And there's also a connection, which we won't get into right away, but there's a connection to Predator with this film.
That leads to the reason why I watched this back in the day.
This we'll get to my thoughts a little bit. No one cares about my thoughts. I care about my crew's thoughts on this. Glenn,
do you care about your thoughts, Mark the movie man? You're the movie man.
Glenn, do you remember when you first saw Without Warning? Did you see it when it came out? Was it on cable? When did you see it?
I remember seeing snippets of it here and there. The first time I watched the whole thing was 3 hours ago.
Really?
All right, go ahead.
Awesome.
So, but I've seen snippets of it because I've seen bits with Martin Landau being all Sergeant, whatever his name is, giving his rank and serial number and all that. Sergeant Fred Dobbs. So I remember seeing bits of it, but I had never seen like the whole thing, like beginning to end.
Sure.
Well,
And what'd you think of it?
It's interesting. I mean, for something that obviously had, a budget that consisted of primarily, some favors and a lifetime supply of Chef Boyardee, I mean, they did all right.
Yeah, they did. They did. And Andrew, when did you first watch this?
I was at one point dedicating myself to seeing everything that Kevin Peter Hall ever did.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a kid, obviously loved Misfits of Science, loved Predator, loved Harry and the Hendersons. But I knew that this wasn't everything that he'd made. But he died very young at age 35.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was. It was a bad blood transfusion.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's 7 feet 2.5 inches tall. This is a big guy. But yeah, I wanted to see all of his creature roles, and Without Warning was really hard to find for some reason. Like, the other ones weren't as hard to find, but Without Warning was really hard to find. I didn't end up seeing it until it was on Blu-ray. It was not very long ago that Shout Factory put it out, or Scream Factory. And I did not think this was a good movie, but I really loved Kevin Peter Hall. And love that Rick Baker makeup that he's in. Love that snarl that he gives right before the big explosion. But I did rewatch for this podcast, and Landau and Palance, particularly Landau, he's got a kind of finger in the socket quality to his performance. So I really do, that aspect of it, I do enjoy that. I was like, are Landau and Palance gonna try to out grizzle each other?
Well, considering the salary that went to Landau and Palance was half this film's budget, the film apparently was made at $150,000. $75,000 of it went to Palance and Landau.
But it wasn't even, though. Palance got the 50. Landau got the 25.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, I it's not a great film, but there's a lot of great, interesting ideas they're doing in here. And yeah, Palance and Landau, I think this film really would get just buried into complete obscurity. It's already, but not as much if they weren't in it, though, because these two guys they're professionals. You can tell they're professionals. They know they're in a low budget shtick film. They're either, and yet they're putting their all into these roles. I'm like, they're acting like in a completely different movie, and I loved it. I mean, Palance shows up, and suddenly the film just instantly gets better when his character shows up. And Landau too, when he shows up, you're like, I'm interested in these guys. I could care less about the teenagers, but holy crap, these guys.
There were teenagers in this?
Yeah, supposedly. They were supposedly teenagers. Hey, it was the Scream debut of Mr. David Caruso.
That was a good one, Mark. For those who are listening and not seeing, Mark just took his glasses off. It was badass.
It was kind of a reverse Caruso. So yeah, I mean, they're the most notable faces in here, but it surprised me what they did. Yeah, Rick Baker, early makeup, the fact you got Kevin Peter Hall in here, guy who, I've loved his work as a monster. The Predator alone, I mean, man, if it's not for his performance, that creature could easily just kind of fade, but he really gives it personality. They filmed this in 3 weeks.
Yeah, it was to get under the tax shelter for the year. They had to come out that year.
Yeah. Well, it was by a movie company, Filmway Pictures, who sold it to Orion Pictures, and we saw where that went for Orion. But it basically it's an alien hunting people. We don't know exactly why the alien's there, and it does fit into the space sucks category, okay? Because
Oh, yeah.
because I mean, this film doesn't waste time. We've got a hunter, and it's 1980, so you've got the hunter dad and the hippie son arguing, and suddenly, yeah, Andrew, your name says it all. What comes after the hunter guy?
I mean, Glenn, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm a person that loves pasta, and this just to me looked like some mushroom raviolis.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like without a doubt.
But there's
I mean, he paid 19 grand for Rick Baker to make the alien mask, and it was 79 cents for that can of overstuffed ravioli.
Hairy ravioli, it looked like. The first shot we get of these two, because these little creatures fly out and land on people and they suck their blood out of them, basically. And they're actually pretty creepy looking for a film of this budget, but they're still there. I liked them, you know. The practical effects alone is always fun, you know. And they do some fun camera tricks, but yeah, they look, when they spun, they look like furry ravioli.
And when they're stuck to someone and sucking their blood, it's just funny.
It's funny.
Gross. It is gross. Like it shows the tentacles burrow into the skin and, you know, start sucking the blood. And at one point, a character rips it off of themselves, and you see it's definitely sucking the blood. But whoa, dude, it is 79 cents. I think it's being generous.
Glenn was being kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
like I said, for, you know, having some favors and some ravioli, they did all right.
And that's where I like, for a 1980 film like this, they do all right. They're you know what they're given. I mean, I like the little gimmick of the little plastic guys sticking there, you know, because you can actually see the things moving. They put at least enough effort to where it's not like someone like, you know, grabbing their chest or whatever and then moving around. They do shots where the creature's actually got its little things going into little prosthetic skin, you know. It's a shot. They could have easily just gone, you know, glued it to the person's jacket and that's it. But they actually put in some shots that you could tell they were trying.
No, what they were trying to do, this is what I really do believe. So I have the book that the director wrote. It was a Kindle book a few years ago, and I was only familiar with Satan Sadists. Just, you know, great. He'd made some good biker movie, but his main thing with those creatures, you know, they were his idea. He just wanted to create something nobody had ever seen before. He just wanted an original thing, and I think he succeeded, because if you've seen Without Warning, this is what you're going to remember: the flying ravioli.
You are, more so than the alien, because you don't get the aliens for much of it. No. It shows up as in a film as much as like the aliens in Shark Encounters of the First Kind or whatever it was that Polonia put out a couple of years ago. You see the alien there about it as much as you do here. You know, you don't really see them too much. They take that Jaws approach, don't they, Glenn, with this film, to where you do a lot of POV of the alien through the grass. You don't see them that often.
No, you do not. Not much at all. And when you do, a lot of it is like long shots.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't get a lot of like close-ups of the alien.
Which is weird, because you would have figured with the money that they forked out for the mask and the alien getup, you'd be showing that on camera like constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you would lose your kind of like impact of Act 3 reveal.
Yeah, that's true.
But even then, you don't see them as much as you should. And it's a good looking.
It is.
It's weird. They had more of the confidence in the ravioli than they did in this makeup. And yet, but they did show you, like you said, front and center, get the monsters going. That was really a good drive-in sizzle. It
was. I mean, it pulls you in, and then you get the credit sequence. And like I said, you do your Jaws shots of where you get the POV of the creature rather than the creature itself. It was totally a Jaws approach. I'm like watching this going, Oh, they watched Jaws. Okay. They're like, we can build tension by just giving you the POV of the alien. We don't have to show the alien actually working. And then, yeah, we don't have to have the guy on set. The subplot that surprised me on this, and Glenn, I don't know if it surprised you that it's in there or whatnot, was with Landau's Sarge character. And basically 1980, we're dealing with PTSD here.
Yeah.
I mean, does that surprise you? Like a film like this, suddenly it's like this crops up and like, well, this is actually a little bit, I mean, they don't handle it that well, but it's still a heavy topic that they bring up. It is, or
I mean, I don't think they brought it up to be a heavy topic. They brought
Right.
it up because they wanted someone who could be nuts. That's what they had it for. I mean, it was just,
Yeah.
you know, and they wanted someone who would kind of go out, and it. I guess I can see them playing the PTSD into the, you know, the kind of whole, you know, conspiracy theory type thing too, because that's kind of how he also played it,
right.
and how the script played him. You know, the whole, you know, you've been taken over by these aliens. They replaced you. They killed you and replaced you. So
Yeah, you know, that, I mean, that even harkens back to the old communist, you know, some of those alien films like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, communism taking over people. You know, you've been replaced by someone else who looks like you, but you're actually an alien. You're not, you know, or you're a communist.
you got to say it right though.
Commie?
Say it like Jack Palance. Alien! Alien!
Oh my God.
Oh, dude.
I bust out laughing so much at that scene because that's a scene I've seen before because I had a friend who had all these different clips, and that's one he had where just there's Jack Palance just suddenly screaming the word alien and running at this thing, and I'm like, did he just shout alien? That's it?
That's it.
Now, maybe it was a long lost friend of his that he, you know, and he thought maybe the guy was dead, and you know, I mean, they want you to think that Pounce's character might be in cahoots with the aliens or might be in charge of the aliens. I feel like they sort of tried to plant that in the beginning by, you know, him warning them about it, and then you start to see the kids get dropped off, and you're like, wait a second now, what did Jack Palance know?
Jack Palance is Joe Taylor, who they first meet at the gas station, which was a gas station that would have had the Sawyer family going, what the fuck? Yeah, I mean, this thing, you know, dude, at least get rid of the cobwebs, man.
Don't eat the hot dogs.
Don't eat the hot dogs.
No.
Well, is that what those are? I thought those were beef sticks or something.
Well, they began as eggs, believe it or not. Pickled eggs.
They were eggs. No, hot dogs, no beef sticks. Yeah, because the kids meet up in that, which, again, you know, there's sections in here that I loved. I loved the whole idea with the gas station where they meet up, and that's where they first see Sarge, you know, because the girls break into the men's bathroom because the girls' bathroom is locked and he's in there. And, you know, there's just that phrase in there that they don't really do much with, the no escape, you know, no place, nowhere, no escape or something like that. I had it in my notes somewhere. Sorry, I did not write it down.
That scene bugged me a little bit though, where the girls are like, yeah, there's this weird guy in the bathroom. I'm like, you were in his bathroom. Remember that? you
were in the men's bathroom.
In the men's bathroom. So him being there was like not weird.
Well, the fact that she stops and, you know, he's like, what the hell are you doing in here? This is a men's bathroom. She's like, the girls' bathroom was locked. Hey, what's that graffiti mean? Like, he's just gonna know. And he's like, what? Like, you know, yeah. So they're, I did like though the what they did with the scout troop though, because like you said, Larry Storch shows up for a very short time as leader of the scout troop, basically to become food for the flying raviolis, which now that's what they're just going to be called, folks. Okay, is flying raviolis.
Short that to Flavioli.
Flavioli.
Flying ravioli. Flavioli.
Flavioli.
Flavioli monster.
Flying vampire ravioli.
Yeah.
Well, the V, you've already got it in there, so the V could do both the violi for the vampire part. Vampioli?
Yeah, there's a movie I want Andrew to make.
Vampioli.
I made a movie about a vampire butt, so I'm pretty much I made
You're
a vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've that's run its
Fuck
course.
that well dry.
Literally. But yeah, you get Martin Landau as Sarge, and again, his acting in here as well. I'm like sitting here going, dude, you know you're in a really low budget horror film, right? Because he's all into this character. He's Sarge. It's like, wow, he just goes for the bleachers at it. And Palance is Jack Palance. He's a badass throughout this whole film, and they give the idea that these two guys served with each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting, showing you the effects of, because this is only 95 years removed from Vietnam, 6, so I mean it's still fresh kind of in people, so these two guys are vets from Nam that you get, and yeah, I love the dynamic between Sarge and Joe, because you're right, Andrew, they play through most of this film like Joe might be in cahoots with the space alien, because just the way he talks to the young folks who are just getting terrorized by the raviolis and by the alien itself, which their friends go disappear. They disappear, and they go looking for them, and then they find this awesome scene in the shed. Andrew, what'd you think of the shed scene where they find the bodies of all the people that the Vampiolis have eaten?
It's fabulous. This movie was shot by Dean Cundy, and he had worked with the director before getting Halloween, and then he's right off of Halloween, so he didn't have to do this movie, but he, I think, did it as a favor because of this guy who gave him his start. Mm-hmm. So, for those of you who are like, without warning, it's like Dean Cundy. I mean, this is a major Hollywood name, definitely, from shooting Halloween, that's known as having excellent, innovative, great cinematography for a low budget movie. So Cundy's does this thing where he kind of puts you in, you feel like you're really in there. Because, with suspense, we know, right, it works a couple different ways. You know more than the characters, or you don't know, you're finding it out exactly at the same time. And so we don't know what's going to happen in there either. And you don't know the long-term effects of having a ravioli on your skin there. And so when they go in and see, these people are they look like zombie. I mean, they're screwed. They're just so gross. And
they're oozing and
yeah, exactly. No, these ravioli do have a filling, as it turns out, that is not only mushroom but also a bit of some hollandaise maybe, or
like a hollandaise sauce.
What do you think, Glenn? A little bit of, I don't know. What did it look like to you?
Yeah,
it could have been Bavarian. It was too runny.
Yeah, no, it was more like a hollandaise sauce. Actually, it could be. I bet this was like a reject filling for Cadbury eggs.
Oh, yeah.
It made it a little too runny, so I was like, we can't use this. What can we do with it?
That's true, because when you got it on his knife,
ravioli with.
I'm into it. Wow, getting hungry talking about this movie.
Getting hungry talking about this movie. One of the things I loved about the Joe Taylor character, I mean, he gives that wonderful speech about hunting, which, again, it's Jack Palance. I could watch him read the instructions off the back of a box, and he'd make it interesting just because of the voice and his delivery. It's like, I mean, he's playing Jack Palance. I mean, he doesn't, his characters that he plays are pretty much the same, but I love all of them just because of his personality.
As a villain, I mean, he's from Shane. And even as I grew up with him as the host of Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yep, me too. Yeah, he was wonderful. He kept me interested in Ripley's Believe. I mean, he'd make like the most lamest Ripley fact sound just interesting as hell. You'd have the lady with the longest nails. You're like, and in Africa, and he just put these emphasis and this energy in it, and you're just like, wow, that's freaking cool. And all he are, they're just long nails, but he just make it sound like so mysterious with that voice he had.
Dude, if you woke up to him reading, like the instructions to your stereo or something, you'd be like, oh God.
So I mean, he's wonderful. He's actually in a hero role in this, but you're not quite sure because you've seen him in a lot more bad guy type roles. So they play to that in this, and they make you think that he's on the other side, or he's at least using these alien murders to his advantage. And then you get Sarge who wants to kill the alien. And I'm glad these guys got the most screen time because the teenagers were your basic teenagers. I mean, we literally opened the scene again. It is 1980, but we literally opened the scene with the two guys. We're going camping and we're going to get laid. Main approach to them, and the ladies, not much to their characters really. A lot of yelling and oh my god. But then it just makes Jack Palance that much more badass, doesn't it, Glad? Because he gets a ravioli on him, but he's like unfazed. What's he do to the?
I guess I get my knife out and cut this son of a bitch off.
And he does have.
He's got to be badass. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, if you think of the fact that he and Landau served in Vietnam, I mean, they would have been like 40 something.
Yeah.
When they got, I mean, did they get drafted? They had to have volunteered because there's no way they drafted like 45-year-old men to go to Vietnam. I mean, he had to have been if he was over there fighting. I mean, it's just like that must have been. He must have been like a lifer until like Vietnam. Like, all right, now I'm done.
Or he might have been like semi-retired reserve or something. They had to get called in or something. I love how we're coming out with the reasons why they would have been in that war.
Well, it's just Jack Palance being a badass. And, Sarge mentions he was honorably discharged. So these two guys, that was probably their last duty was Nam near the end of their career. They were career soldiers. They were probably, and Sarge just was affected differently, whereas Joe Taylor is unaffected by alien creatures attaching to him. He just cuts the fuckers right off multiple times. And the only time he gets done in is near the end. He gets one on his back that he can't reach with his knife, And now if this was modern times, the girl with him would have just cut that shit right off. But no, he's like, and she's like, and he's, here, take the knife and cut it off. And she doesn't. So that's when he sacrifices himself because the alien won't get close enough to the shed with the bodies so that they can blow it up, which again, this is like sequences and elements of this film that I enjoyed. Like I enjoyed the whole bit where Sarge goes off the rails in the bar, that's actually a really great sequence.
The bar is to me the best part of this movie. I mean, other than Kevin Peter Hall, which is again the reason to watch that makeup, they don't give you enough of that. But that bar, that was all shot in one day, and the guy filled it with day player actors. I mean, he, like you said, with him calling the favors and stuff, think of the people that are in that. Because it's, you got Palance and Landau coming in, but it's full of these names. And when you look at it, you're like, dude, I mean, they made it work. And then Palance, of course, runs the table.
Yeah.
And Landau, he just dials it up. But what I wanted to mention, though, one thing about the teenagers, this one kid, Greg, the guy with the dark hair.
Yeah.
Do you think he was just maybe seeing how crazy and the level that Landau was at? Do you think he was trying his little, Donny Osmond version of that? I hate it when people don't come back when they say they're going to.
Oh yeah.
Just go look for him. It's like Jiminy Cricket. Pulling up his sleeves. He just got all in a huff.
Well, he was supposed to be the good guy. His buddy was the player. The
good guy was pretty much a bitch. I mean, but I did read in that book that the girl who played Sandy, the young woman who played Sandy,
Tara Nutter,
total asshole in real life.
Really?
Kept stopping knowing that the movie was under a really tight schedule. Like refused to do certain shots, things like that when things were going behind, and they're like, we need to keep you on set just for a little longer so we can get this one shot of you. He's like, no, I'm going home.
Wow.
One part she swore she twisted her ankle and insisted on them taking her to the hospital, and she also insisted on being taken in the ambulance that they needed for that awesome high fall when those two characters jump off the bridge. That's a great stunt.
Oh, that's a great stunt. That surprised me that was in this because
Yeah.
they're being chased by Landau, who at one point, Sarge, who at one point just snaps. He shot a cop on accident thinking he's the alien. And then he's going after the kids. After they escaped the cop car, he stole. And yeah, they get to a bridge and they got nowhere else to go. And they jump off. And I'm like, oh, crap, these people are actually jumping off the bridge. They've got two people who actually jumped off this bridge.
It was a super high fall. But anyway, yeah, she wanted to be taken to the hospital for her sprain. It wasn't actually a sprain in that ambulance. So, yeah, she was.
Wow.
I don't think she worked very much after that. I mean, you know, a nobody who is then commanding like their Jack Palance but of course, Palance and Landau would have never complained. They could have, you know, their toe could have come off and they would have been like, all right, let's fight. No stunt people. Landau.
Well, she apparently did her own stunt for falling into the trap that Sarge had put around trying to capture the alien. He put these without the spikes. He put these traps in that were covered up. The whole ye old hole in the ground trap that she falls through. That I thought was an impressive thing to happen, at least. You know, and so she did that stunt apparently on her own. But,
yeah, according to what the guy said about making the movie, it was she was kind of an asshole. But Palance and Landau worked way past, and everybody that worked that bar scene worked way past the regular 8 hours to get it done, and it's a great scene.
Well, that's because you mentioned it's veterans. You had they were all veterans in that. I mean, Cameron Mitchell, Neville Brand, Ralph Meeker,
Sue Ann Langdon as the bartender. That could have been just some old dude. Wasn't that great, Glenn? Because like you already have a movie full of grizzled old dudes. That's usually the bartender role is who he gets that role. But because they had a cast was already full of them, you give it to Sue Ann Langdon. I thought that was like genius. I'm not saying it's a terrible movie.
It's not a great it's not a great movie, but
it's a really well acted bad movie.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. The script they're working on is wafer thin along with their budget, yet they got enough of these veteran actors for this bar scene who are of that old school to where I don't care if I'm making a film that is $100,000 or $1 million. I am going to play this role and put all my talent behind that role. I mean, that's what Palance is doing in this. That's what's Landau, and that's what all these people in this bar scene are. I'm like, this is a wonderful sequence.
Yeah. and you know, it's worth mentioning too that Glenn, you're gonna say something, man.
I was gonna say, I think that's just also just a lot of those actors had, you know, I mean, how long have they been in film?
Right.
And the fact that, you know, a lot of them, even back, you know, in their heydays, they, you know, it's not like they were making, you know, $1 million a picture.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, how many of them have done other, you know, shoot a movie in a week or two type of things, projects. So, and on top of the fact that a lot of them are, you know, they're at their, you know, they've already peaked and they're on their way down.
Right.
So, but I mean, they all still bring it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I can't think of a role I've ever seen Martin Landau in where he wasn't that like level above where he just like, nope, 100%, 110% all the time, every time.
Well, it's your face, you know. I mean, it's you, it's your name. That's got to be valuable to you. And you know, also it's good to remember that actors are unemployed after every movie that they do.
It's true.
You know, tell Jeremy Irons that.
No. Some people just love to make movies, but also, you know, Landau and Palance went on to both win Oscars in the next decade, didn't they? Because City Slickers and Ed Wood, right?
Sadly, Palance did not win it in his other 1980 flick, Hawk the Slayer. But
well, yeah, there's that.
I don't think I've seen that, man.
You haven't seen Hawk the Slayer? Oh,
well, it's for a nerd like me, it's the ultimate nerd movie because it is a D&D game in a movie.
That sounds great. My brother's like huge into that, and yeah, my friend Hannah is as well.
Yeah, Hawk the Slayer is definitely one of those that's your Dungeons and Dragons movie, not the actual Dungeons and Dragons movie from 2000. No, the Hawk the Slayer is your D&D.
Yeah, I didn't see the I was a fan of the cartoon. Now that we're totally sidebarring with D&D,
Oh,
I
sure.
loved that cartoon.
Oh yeah, the cartoon was awesome, and you
Actually
got the.
terrified me. A couple of the episodes actually terrified me.
I loved the cartoon because it was you got basically the origin story of the movie in the opening every episode, because that's how the whole damn series started. I loved it. But getting back to our flying raviolis and Kevin Peter Hall and the Jack Palance and all these names in this film,
And the thief, acrobat, and the barbarian.
And a thief, and acrobat, the barbarian, yeah, and Uni, Uni. There you go. Yeah. I it's just, it is fascinating. I love films like this, and this is why I enjoy seeing B films, and I know they get so much flack, especially early ones like the 80s and that, but it always surprises me when you run across films like this that have like known names in it. It's like a movie that, not many people talk about, but somebody had to get a start somewhere, or they had to get work. And we talk about it a lot in film circles that nowadays, oh, did you see that movie Bruce Willis is doing now? He's doing like anything for a paycheck. Or, Sam Jackson, he was just in, the Star Wars $200 million movie, and now he's making this direct to video stuff. But it's like you said, Andrew, I think actors got to feed themselves.
They do, and it all kind of works together too, because you can get a movie, you can get people to sign on, like HBO will buy your movie for you for if you've got a name that people know.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, it all kind of keeps moving itself along. They're like, okay, so is everybody's white in this, right? And they're like, how about Kevin Peter Hall? Now we know he's black. Oh no, we put him in a
we'll put him in a suit and he'll be green, so it'll be fine. Kind of green.
So just to make sure now, a bunch of white kids go to a weird town full of white people, and then they get attacked by a ravioli.
It is 1990, Andrew. So I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that that still was the standard back then.
I don't know. When was Blackula made?
That's true.
Yeah, man, let's not get me started.
No, sure, you had to fire him up on Blackula. Just getting us back to the movie, and then you got to bring up Blackula in front of Andrew.
From space, man, but he occupies a significant amount of real estate in Andrew's heart.
But what you were saying, Andrew, I mean, both Palance and Landau in the 80s, in this, they go on later to get Academy Awards, yet they're in a film like this that's $150,000, where half of the film was their salary.
Hey, they got paid, man.
They got paid. And there's other movies too. I mean, we've talked about them this year. You this month have been other like low grade sci-fi B horror films that have names in them, because people got to eat, and either they got their start in it, or it's their like you said, they're on their peak, but they still want to act. But Hollywood, big budget films, aren't going to hire them because they're old.
Yeah. They just want to know, are you working?
Yeah.
And they be like, look, man, I did 2 movies this year.
Like,
cool.
Yeah.
People still want you. It looks good on everybody, really. It doesn't matter,
So yeah, you have this low budget horror film that's got these names in it, and they don't care. They're still acting as if they're in that wide release film. And I love it. That's why I love these things. That's where I was going with it, is that some of these talents, it doesn't matter what budget film they're in, they put their all. Bruce Willis, on the other hand, some of the films, it looks like he's checked out. He's like, yeah, the check cleared. Let's go.
Oh my God, dude. Ever listen to Kevin Smith talk about him in Cop Out?
Oh yeah.
Dude.
Oh yeah.
I have to say it changed my views of, or formed rather my views of Bruce Willis.
Well, it changed his opinion of it too, because he was a hero. Bruce Willis was a hero of his till
I know,
then.
what a story.
So,
but for that, how many stories are untold about that stuff happening? But no, from what I read about Without Warning, man, Palance and Landau were badasses, and who's in the beginning? Cameron Mitchell.
Yeah.
Okay, Cameron Mitchell. Yeah, that's what they said about Cameron Mitchell. Cameron Mitchell's agents like, do not pay Cameron Mitchell in cash. He's gonna go it and give it to his bookie or whatever. Like, don't give him his money. And then, of course, Cameron Mitchell shows up. I'm not doing shit until you give me my money. And he's like, his agent's, no, I don't care what agent. I will not act. So they give him $1,000, runs over as a dude sitting in a car. He hands it to him, and then he does
And again, that's why I love these movies too, because you get stories like that of an actor paid his bookie with his salary he just made. Yeah, but I mean, this got. I will say for a film like this, it was better than expected for me. It's not a great film, but it definitely is a competently shot film, kind of. Put together. I mean, the narrative plays, it's not all over the place. They managed to keep this story going and moving, and the characters, thanks to Palance and Landau. I know we keep bringing it up, but those are the linchpins for this film, is that they're like solid. Yeah. And I think if you had anyone else in this film, it just would not do it for me. But I loved every minute they were on screen. And it became their show. You thought it was going to be the teenagers, and it becomes their movie.
Yeah. Really, and they're in a leadership position though, dude, right? On set, like if everybody sees them giving 110%, especially if you're younger, you're like, I'm not gonna let him show me up shit.
Right.
Piece of me, grandpa.
And they don't. And there is a little bit of suspense. Like the scene in the house I liked, because eventually, while they're on the run, the two teenagers that are left end up running through the woods away from the raviolis and the alien, who they can't quite see. And they find this random house that was like a hunter's house, because they've established this is a hunter's area already, which was great, because then if you run across like the old shack where the bodies are in, or this old house, it's like, oh, okay, it's someone's hunting house or
probably
shack.
Better that the cast was white, because
yeah,
it wouldn't have been a very long movie. That type of
yeah, absolutely. But they go into this house, and I love the one scene though. So they go into this house. They're kind of cold in that. So what does she do to keep warm? She puts on a shirt, but no pants.
That's great. That's what I do.
That's Glenn. Is that what you do? Like, you're cold. You're like, you've got a shirt and pants on, but you're cold. So you take them both off, put on a flannel shirt, but no pants. Is that what you do?
Well, I mean, it's flannel, so it warms everything, right? I mean, you don't need pants.
That's a lot of flannel in this movie.
There is a lot of flannel in this movie. I was impressed that the two teenagers that were survived, I thought for sure they were leading to some kind of love scene, but they don't. There is no love scene between those two.
He drinks coffee instead.
You think they're setting it up because they're in the house. They've suffered a traumatic event. The ye old horror story formula. They suffered a traumatic event. They feel safe inside this house. They get undressed. Huh?
And she has the memory of the music box.
And there's
more of she has that trauma because it's reminded her of the music box that Dead Girl gave her.
Yeah, her friend who got killed.
Yep.
She sees a music box. This is exactly like my friend, and she's only got the flannel shirt on, no bottoms. Neither does he either. You're thinking they're setting up for your standard cliche. Okay, these two are going to go into the bed together, but no, you're right. You go to bed. I'll go downstairs and watch. He goes, I'm going to get some Sanka.
He did, man. But were you all surprised that she turned that guy died so far into the movie, who they're setting up as the dashing young hero? Did that shock you at all? That part where she turns the chair all Psycho style and he's just all with the ravioli face?
Not really.
No?
I had a feeling it would come down to her and Palance at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why they didn't let her be more of a badass. If you're gonna try the final girl thing, but they want the old man to be the hero, which is cool because it's Palance.
I mean especially with what's his face involved. Coming off of Halloween, it's like you'd think that if they have been working out, they've seen Halloween,
mm-hmm.
right? You'd think it's like,
it was the director's show. They had to follow the script.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
what do you
and
expect from a guy who, one of the writers who eventually goes on to, help create Saved by the Bell? So
is that what?
yeah, like one of the dudes wrote like a ton of episodes for Saved by the Bell.
Oh shit!
wow.
I also I love when I see movies like this where it's like, and I'm like, how you had 3 writers and this is what 3 people came up with together?
Right? I've thought that about songs a lot that I hear, and I'm like, wow, 25 people, really?
Oh my God, this guy he did Without Warning was his first movie. He did write a couple others. He wrote a Poison Ivy film from 85, Kidco, but then he did Saved by the Bell Hawaiian style. Saved by the Bell, he wrote 15 episodes, an episode of Saved by the Bell College Years, and Saved by the Bell The New Class. He was the developer of it. Bennett Tramer.
Yo, but how great would it have been Saved by the Bell Without Warning, though? Like, just put them kids in this thing, and bring Sarge there and Joe Taylor.
Oh,
how
shit.
great would that have been, man?
Now I want to see that movie. The Saved by the Bell kids in the van, and they run across Palance and Landau's character, Sergeant Joe. Holy crap. That'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, it'd be even better, man. Instead of Landau, Chris Farley. Not fully the motivational veteran.
See, now you're casting this as if it's in the late 80s, early 90s. Now that's where we're going.
Sergeant Fred Dobbs here, Sergeant Fred Dobbs. Down to my van by the river.
He always would do.
Oh, come on!
Is that a space vampire over there?
He takes a shot at the alien, and he just like Palance does. He takes a shot at the alien at the end, and it just cuts into the alien's arm, and he just goes, "Oh, come on! Come on!"
You're gonna have a vampire ravioli sucking your blood out by the river.
You're down by the river.
The other guy in this, Daniel Grodnick, he. Now I'm picturing that. Wow.
I'm still stuck there.
You're stuck there. It's okay.
Glenn, you do that good, man.
You do that really good. Yeah, he didn't really write too much other things. He produced a lot of films, but the other writer in here, one of the other 3 writers, only produced a number of films. He only wrote 6 others. And the third person, Lynn Freeman, this is the only film written by. So,
but the one writer, Daniel Grodnick, I mean, he was the executive producer on Christmas Vacation.
I know, right? How's that work?
Well, it's you work your way up.
This is, he was a producer. He had made some contacts and got some money, and
yeah, that was it. Yeah,
he knew how to get. Actually, you don't necessarily have to have money as a producer. You just have to know how to get other people's money.
Right. And I suspect that's what he was good at, because even up through 2020, he's been producing a lot of films.
Yeah.
So even though he only wrote 6, he's been a big producer, which is his claim to fame, which I would suspect he was probably played a part in getting the $150,000 they needed for this movie.
He probably could have gotten a lot more, honestly, because some of the investors, they were pulling down like $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
So he probably just went low, and he didn't even realize he probably could have went higher. But
well, especially with the names, if you're talking about old money yet in Hollywood, I'm sure he could have probably got more if he said, "We've got Palance and we've got Landau." They'd be like, "Oh, and even some of the bar patrons
from Space 1999."
So I mean, it could have been more. It's, again, I enjoyed it far more than I thought I would. It's not great, but it's better than expected. I think for a horror film from 1980, a B horror film that's schlocky, that's just got the one gimmick with the alien. It's. I think if you're fans of Palance and Landau, you should watch it, because they are on screen quite a bit, and you want to see David Caruso with a weird haircut.
Yeah, and 1980. Let's face it, man, it was still the 70s.
Yeah,
and
it was.
You if you're a fan of, I think 70s are the best for movies, music, everything, and so not everything, science, but still, this would, I think, fall in there. And so if you're wanting to see, people like Greg Canham and and Rick Baker's still in the beginnings of their careers, some of the stuff they made.
Right.
But like I said in the beginning, Kevin Peter Hall died far too young and was left such an impression, and is responsible for. He was the guy behind so many great creatures. Most people just know him, as Predator. Some know that Harry from Harry and the Hendersons was also him. But it's worth.
He was not even 40, was he?
No,
he's 35.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that kind of led me to it. I was just like, well, he was known for playing creatures. Let's make sure we see all these creatures. Not let that guy's legacy be lost, because he was. Yeah, it was very early in the 90s when he passed.
Yeah, it was. And this was what was this? This wasn't his first role, though. He was in another film with another famous person later on, Mazes and Monsters.
Oh,
he
right.
was with Tom Hanks.
Who was he in Mazes and Monsters?
He played Gorville, one of the creatures guys. I think the troll or something. I forgot. It's been a long time since I watched it.
Long, dude.
No. I didn't realize he was in Misfits of Science.
Yes,
that's what I said at the beginning.
Yeah,
Misfits.
I did not hear you say that, man. Oh my gosh, yeah.
He touched the back of his head.
Oh my God, Prophecy. I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that I'm thinking of the right movie. Yeah, they're like, I remember there's like a scene where they're like hiding out like in a cave or something. Like, I think it's gone. And the dude sticks his head out and plop, there goes the head.
Prophecy's good. That's another one that I feel like maybe recently got released on Blu-ray. So yeah, man, you have a shortage of black faces in these movies. But to know that Kevin Peter Hall was the guy, a lot of people don't know that the alien was also a black guy. He's an African, I think.
Yeah.
So, and he may have also died young. I don't know. It would be worth checking into. But yeah, either way, that's it for me, man. The legacy of, we always talk about our creature actors from the past, but you don't often hear Kevin Peter Hall brought up. But man, that was one of the, he was great. He was really great.
He was. He gave, even for the very limited screen time, he gave some interesting performance in this, only being his second film and first credited film. It's fun seeing him where he started and thinking about where he ended up is always interesting. You got any final thoughts without warning, Glenn? Would you tell folks if they're fans of anybody in this film to watch it, or?
I could say yeah, and I could say if you want to see how people can be professional even in a bad movie. So I mean the fact that I don't think any of them they didn't phone this in,
right?
Palance and Landau. I mean they, and Palance. I mean Palance has a penchant for a bit of overacting.
What?
But he doesn't do it really in this one.
No.
So he's pretty steady and mellow for Jack Palance. He's not rapping bigger than anyone. So he's just being Jack Palance, and that's enough.
It's almost as if he saw Landau's performance as like, oh, I've got to back off.
I think he was saving it for Hawk the Slayer.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I gotta see this, dude.
I gotta over the top in that one.
He was. Yeah. He definitely was. And yeah, that's my thoughts too, is just because it's got a low budget and B movie doesn't always mean that the performances are bad. Some people are put in stunt casting, especially nowadays, but back then, Palance and Landau got more than just 5 minutes of screen time in this. They are major players in the plot. They aren't names just to be tossed in there. And they're acting it like shit. This is a big studio film because they're actors. And I think that gives these films some of their charm, and that's why I enjoy watching B movies, especially ones that feature early names, because you can see the talent early with these individuals. And you think about their later films and you're just like, wow, it's like they even had it back then. Andrew, it's what we talked about, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation. We talked about that and how you kind of opened my eyes a bit to it, because if you looked at it, McConaughey was kind of a name, but her name just blew out of my head. Thank you, Renee Zellweger. Thank you. God, I hate when my brain farts like that. Renee Zellweger but you could always already see the talent there, and that's what I love about these early films. Even Mazes and Monsters with Tom Hanks. If you watch that, not only for Hall, but if you see Tom Hanks, you could see that the talent was already there.
George Clooney in Return of the Killer Tomatoes.
George Clooney in Return of the Killer Tomatoes. Sure. I mean, Don will appreciate that you brought that up, Glenn.
That's what we need to do, man. We need to get Don back in.
So I guess closing thought for me is it just don't always write off the B movies by their budget, because if anything, it's interesting to see where these known named actors or up and coming actors that are so big now came from, or what they do in a film, even though they know this was the catering budget of my last film, and they're in this movie, and they put their all into it. So that's why I give them a chance sometimes. And I'd say give this a chance, folks. If anything, you'll have some laughs. Watch it with a group of people, and the first time that ravioli frisbee comes flying at the hunter, you're going to chuckle. You're just going to chuckle, because I did. It came out of nowhere, and I'm just like, oh, man.
It was without warning, one might say.
It was without warning. Yeah. Put me in alien shock. That's great. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Lobbing those,
Yeah, you're definitely lobbing them. So I hope everyone enjoyed our discussion on this film. It's not deep. It's not a lot, but it's something. I've seen worse out of this time period, for sure. So, and anything, watch the bar scene. Nothing
so
else.
Good, dude.
It's like that's like on a different level in this film.
Yeah, he actually had to ask Landau to kind of dial things back sometimes.
No,
we weren't even getting the whole thing.
We weren't even getting the full Landau. No. We were getting the full Sarge. We were just getting the most of Sarge.
Yeah.
So the full 90% Sarge is what we were getting. So thank you so much all for listening to us ramble about this film. And look at it, Glenn's got some raviolis.
Oh my God, Glenn.
Glenn pulled out some raviolis. Now I want raviolis. Thanks, Glenn.
God, that's so good, dude.
I think we might have some.
Oh God. I have to tell people, man, that just subscribe to the podcast in audio form. They got to watch this, dude. Look at Glenn's commitment. Glenn, you were officially the Martin Landau and Jack Palance of this podcast.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Absolutely.
Oh, and that looked way better, honestly, than in the movie.
It did. It did look better than in the movie. It did.
Should have called the chef.
Make me a large ravioli.
You're a large ravioli.
Oh, nice. Thank you, Andrew. Yes, I am a large ravioli.
Make me one with everything.
We won't say what I'm filled with either. So, and with that, now is my chance to give my crew members, my wonderful friends here, license to shill. So please, license to shill. Andrew, anything you got to shill, please shill away. The floor is yours.
Oh, hi. My name is Andrew Shearer. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you and been invited. Glenn, it was great to be back with you, man. It's been way too long.
Yeah.
We make movies, my friends and I, here in Athens, Georgia. We're called Gonzorific, GONZORIFFIC. We're having our 20th anniversary this year. Our next upcoming show will be at Athens Cine on November 12th and 13th, 2021. That will be theatrical, we hope. But I am planning to also do an encore or pivot to the streaming like we had to do in 2020 if need be. But my goal is for everyone to get to see this. If you want to support us right now, you can watch Space Boobs in Space on Plex, and the Space Boobs in Space does have vampires in it. There's a vampire ass, but I won't tell you how that happens. You'll have to watch. Also, if you want to buy some physical copies from us, our latest film is called Areola Jones and the Home Video Vixens. It is not available on Blu-ray anymore because Mark got the last one, but you can get that on DVD, and that will, all the money goes toward making these wonderful punk rock feminist B-movie monster pieces.
Awesome. And Glenn, you got anything to plug? Go ahead. You got some TikTok going on.
I'm on the TikTok with Games in a Bunker, just doing weird stuff and talking about games and whatnot. And I am celebrating my 7-year anniversary of not making movies. It's been 7 years since I did my last one. So
wow, it's been 7 years since.
It'll be 7 years in October.
Wow.
Well, actually, yeah, 7 years in October.
I have.
You got it back there somewhere.
I've got 2 copies of Hell right here. So
all right.
So, and I think, it's
sadly that Hirsch is no more.
Oh no, really?
Yeah. Well, at least no more with the person who owned it before. I don't know where it is now.
I think I've got Prey somewhere too. So,
put those on YouTube, G.
They are.
They are.
They're on YouTube. His short films are on YouTube. Games in a Bunker there too.
Have you ever seen them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Games in a Bunker there as well, right, Glenn?
Okay. In a Bunker Productions.
In a Bunker Productions, absolutely.
That's where they are. Okay.
So check out
back in the day when we were first all getting to know each other. I checked out your stuff.
Yeah, and this is great because now as we're wrapping up, we have a wonderful viewership. Thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight on the stream. We are wrapping it up here. Check out Gonzorific. Check out Games in a Bunker. Wonderful, talented folks, part of the Spoiler Room crew here. If at all you're at all interested in, there they are. What? Look at Cinema Underground.
Dude, somebody's got the collection. Look at
He's
that.
got the Andrew collection. Nice.
That was my first one.
Dr. Humstein, right?
Yeah, that was mine too. I got that up there too.
It's the 10-year anniversary this year, man. I was gonna do a special edition, but I think we'll just keep it special.
That's the one you recommended to me to check out first.
That was my heart. That movie's my heart.
So Gonzorific Films, folks, check it out.
Ariel Jones yet, so I need to get on that.
Featuring the dulcet tones of Debbie Rochon.
There you go.
Long time friend Debbie.
I
Awesome.
was very, very surprised when all of a sudden, she started liking some of my posts, and I'm like, why? Why is it? I'm like, because Andrew liked them.
No.
That's the connection there.
Nowhere, I'm like, she's a great person.
How is Debbie Rochon seeing my posts?
Oh, that's great, dude.
That's awesome. But yes, if anyone's at all interested in anything else that I make, specialmarkproductions.com for all your movie man needs. We also are on Linktree. If you go to Special Mark Productions there, you'll find all our links, including a link to our merch store, which as of this point, you've got 2 days left. If you use the little promo code that's at the top of the webpage, you can get you get free shipping on your order. And I'm shilling here. And more importantly than any of that, Patreon, we've got that too. But more important, we do still have our Horror of 1988 poll up. Please go to specialmarkproductions.com, click on the HO88 link, and vote for what horror films from 1988 we will cover for next year's show, special series that we're doing. So far it's been very interesting that are coming up. We've got our Cannon Fodder series, which we still have 4 more films to do. This month is going to be coming up is Highlander for September, with our theme for September is going to be No Expiration Date, in which we're covering films about immortals, which includes Highlander, as well as Old Guard, Zardoz, and I forgot what the last one is, but
fucking Zardoz. That's a movie, man, right there.
So we got a lot of great stuff coming up on Spoiler Room, and so subscribe to us on iTunes and all your podcast channels and such. So thank you so much for my folks tuning in. Thank you to my crew members and to my listeners out there. You keep us going strong, and I would just say good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
everyone.
Night. Good night.
I have a friend who 1 year went as the head from